Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to our Board of Education special public meeting, Wednesday, February 6th. Roll call as follows. Ms. Laura Newman, Assistant Superintendent for Business. Peter Wunsch, Board Trustee. Mr. Joseph Panaccio, Board Trustee. Our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Donald James. Myself, Mary Jo Masiello, Board President. Next to me, Mrs. Deborah Goober, Board Vice President. Mr. Jeff Egan, Board Trustee, Mr. Gene Varnosky, our District Counsel, and Ms. Mary Jane Buddy, our District Clerk. With there being no other types of demonstrations as we usually have a public meeting, we will move towards our new business. Yes.
Would you do motion number 2 first, please?
Motion under...
No, number 2. Motion to exit executive session and return to the public meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, may I have a motion to exit exec session and return to public session? Motion made by Mr. Egan, seconded by Mrs. Goober. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Thank you. At this point, our new business, I would like, please have a motion to accept new business A through G, which is the presentation to the Board of Education for first reading of revised board policies 1121, 9340, 9341, 9361, 9360, 11, 9365, and 9367, all having to do with, all having to do with board policies with notice of meetings and minutes. Thank you, Mr. Wunsch. Motion made by Mr. Wunsch, seconded by Mr. Panaccio. Any discussion?
For this discussion by the board, I'd like the members of the audience that are present to realize that the policies that we're revising tonight are a matter of housekeeping. Our current practices are in alignment with the state law and open meetings laws. Upon review of some of the newer laws and our policies, we decided we need to make some changes to the policies, not our practices. So that is indeed what we're doing here. It's housekeeping in nature. Thank you.
If I may, we were asked to review the board's existing policies relating to meetings and to ensure that the district is in complete compliance with its own policy and practices and current law. We updated existing policies, some of which had not been updated for, say, 20 years. And, there have been changes in the law over that period of time. As the board knows, we've issued client memos as every amendment to FOIL in the open meetings law has been issued. And so we basically tweaked these to bring them into full compliance. With respect to some, there were court decisions that took place between the time they were previously adopted and opinions of the Committee on Open Government. NISBA has weighed in on some of these policies. So we tried to make best practices and memorialize everything and synthesize every opinion and guidance from the Committee on Open Government. That's what we have before you tonight.
Can I emphasize the fact that as you went through all this, and it was stated by the superintendent that for the most part the changes had to do, for instance, with technology, which has obviously changed, and we have made our own, and along the way we've adapted with these changes, and our meetings themselves have been operated within the compliance, but you're saying getting down to the wording and grammar and specifics, this has to all be put in writing so that it's there for future and for present policy.
Well, and you're right, some of it's technology. For example, the position of the Committee on Open Government on teleconferencing has only come out in the past couple of years with the emergence of Skype and other types of technologies. And one of the one of the changes I was alluding to when I said court decisions, when we first drafted the policy on videotaping or audio taping of board meetings, at that time, that board in its wisdom said we want people to come and register with the district clerk if they are in fact videotaping or audio taping. And that was done at that time out of consideration for other people in the audience who might, if they know the proceedings were being videotaped, for example, might not want their child to be videotaped. And I think that concern of videotaping of children and others with the internet has grown over the years. So we put that in. The Committee on Open Government, in an opinion the past couple of years, has said, no, you cannot do that. That they rely upon a decision, it's actually dicta, a decision from upstate that says, it has to be unsupervised. There's other, NISBR, for example, New York State School Boards Association, says no, you can have people register to audio or videotape, and that's for the protection of the public and so people will know, etc. What we did is our policies took the middle line and said we would request that if people wish to videotape or audio tape, that they so advise the clerk. So that's one example of the type of development in technology that caused a change in policy.
Now, as well, is there a point where we would want to make notation or comment on where some of these specific changes were? Is that
Sure.
not something that perhaps you might do? I know they're rather specific and don't change what we've been doing so much, but it's good to have them
Just
clarified.
summarize, and if anyone has questions
Great.
along the way.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first policy, the proposed action is really to retain the existing policy with amendments. And that's public participation at board meetings. And that policy entitled Public Meetings was last amended in 2000, was originally adopted in 1969. And the proposed changes are just really language. We talk about the conduct of meetings. We changed some of the language. For example, the old policy, there was a provision that the Board of Education shall protect at all times school personnel, vendors, and salesmen from public accusations, chastisement, and reprimands. We looked at the New York State School Boards Association model policy, and we kind of felt that the new language was preferable. And the new language is, all speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, libelous statements, threats of violence, statements advocating racial, religious, or other forms of prejudice will not be tolerated. We felt that was a preferable way of expressing ourselves. So that's that one. The next one was with respect to minutes. That policy was adopted in 1963 and last revised in 1970. So that obviously needed some updating. And we have done so. We now provide that the minutes shall be open to public inspection within 1 week of executive sessions, within 2 weeks of all other meetings. Minutes which have not been approved by the board within this time frame shall be marked draft. We went on to, and as in our discussions, say that the minutes shall reflect the vote of all the names of all board members, and if unless the vote is unanimous, because then it's obvious who voted for what. The minutes will now note if a person is not present at the opening of the meeting or leaves early. So these are really sort of very technical things.
But in fact, I did want to add, we have been doing that. It's just that we didn't update the statement that that's what's to be done. As well, as far as minutes were concerned, within 24 hours, over the decades that I've been aware of the system, send out board briefs immediately the next day, so that anything that was attended to that night, any specific area, it didn't get down to exact voting, which in the future it shall. It's more the matter that those issues that were discussed were immediately made notification to the community and to all the staff, so that they understood what went on at the meeting the night before.
Okay, the next one's with respect to the section of policy on special meetings. That section was last revised in 1994, having been adopted in 1958. And basically, we went to the NISBA sample policy, brought that up to date, and it's pretty much plain vanilla. The next one is notice of meetings. We broadened the scope of notices to have it posted in all school buildings. For some reason, the old policy provided that the posting was done in 4 school buildings. I can't tell you why historically that was the case. Also references the new provisions regarding video conferencing.
I'm sorry, Mary Jane, did we not, so, you send out the emails with regards to those policies?
Yeah.
Like to the VTAs? Yeah, okay.
Posted on the website and posted for.
Again, an example of the fact that it's being done, and even more so to the extent of emails, et cetera, and now we have actually within the system these calls and notifications that go on the website. I mean,
Right.
much more high-tech, but still the policies themselves should reflect the exactness of what it is that we are to be doing, and we are doing.
The next one is the public access to meetings and video conferencing, recording and broadcasting public portions of meetings. Here, we basically took the model promulgated by the Committee on Open Government and tweaked that a little bit, and I was referring earlier to the section that we added because we felt this was well-founded, and that is we added to the Committee on Open Government model this is section 2C under the model rules, section 3C, excuse me. As a courtesy to the Board of Education and other attendees, the Board requests that any individuals notify the Board of Education president or the chairperson prior to the meeting that the individuals will be photographing, recording, or broadcasting the meeting. The Board president or the chairperson in turn will inform attendees at the opening of the meeting. That articulates what I expressed before.
And by the way, just for the record, we're being
Recorded now.
monitored as we speak.
The next one is just bringing up to date your agenda. Actually, this one was designed to, again, have the policy reflect what you were actually doing. The practice in place, your agenda has been pretty regular for the past 2 decades. For whatever reason, the policy book was not in alignment with that. And the last one, again, was just a technical tweaking of the definition of quorum, and added that for meetings rescheduled, that notice will again be published. So that's a summary.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion?
Maybe we should emphasize that this is a first reading, not a final adoption of the policy.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Under legal, Board of Education is requested to adopt the following resolution upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, that the notice terminating month-to-month tenancy is hereby approved by the president of board and is authorized to execute, saying this is the first procedural step in the termination of Jewish Academy of Suffolk County occupancy of premises. Therefore, a summary proceeding for return of possession of the premises to the district and money damages for unpaid rent will be commenced. Council is hereby authorized to pursue return of possession of the premises to the district and recoup arrears in rental payments. Motion made by Mr. Panaccio, seconded by Mr. Wunsch. Discussion.
Mrs. Newman, can you just tell us what the dollar amount is in terms of what they are in arrears?
The arrears for the previous year are $99,647. As to this year, I know that we have just received a check this week. I would have to double check which month that was, but I believe they're 1 month behind currently.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. At this point, would someone like, if they had to wish to share on any of the issues discussed here or anything else for that matter, the mic is open. Please come to the mic and state your name.
My name is Dan Fusco. Could you tell us what school you guys are talking about for the eviction notice that you're looking to evict the Jewish Academy from? What school is it?
Oh,
Cedar Road.
Cedar.
Is that Cedar Road School? And how long have they been tenants in that school?
That predates me, and I don't know that we
Predates
have
me
the
as
exact
well.
date, so
That gives you a reference of
that's information we got
back
to get
a
back
few.
to.
Okay.
It's actually shrunk in, it was a larger, was a larger group there, and it's come down.
So at least 7 years, more than 7 years.
More than 7.
7 to 12. Yeah, I wasn't. 7 to 12 were
The other question I had was related to the broadcasting and taping. As I go to other websites for other school districts, I noticed that the school district, the school district tapes the school board meetings and then posts them with a link on the school website. Is that something that we could possibly do so that people in the audience don't have to tape the proceedings? Is that something that could be considered? How would we go about, like, opening a dialogue about getting that done, to do that?
So that is a board decision. You brought it to their attention. I'm certain they'll discuss it.
So,
first request.
so the request comes from me to you guys?
Just
That-
it.
This is the official request?
It's done.
Request.
First time we've heard it.
So when do we, like, you guys are gonna discuss it when, at the next board meeting? When do you discuss it?
It's a process, we'll attend to a process. I mean, frankly, that having been asked a question, as is stated in many of these things, when we are suggested anything, it's not like we go, oh, well, we know we'll have that decision in. So therefore, we will accept your idea, we will discuss it, and you will hear about it.
I think that's it for me. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? At this time, I have a motion to adjourn into exec session for the purpose of discussing negotiations conducted pursuant to the Taylor Law involving Commack School Secretarial Association, UPSU, Commack Teachers Association, Commack Teachers Aides Association, Commack Administrative and Supervisory Association, and UPSU Buildings and Grounds. Motion made by Mrs. Goober, seconded by Mr. Wunsch. Discussion. All in favor? Passed unanimously.
I can't say that because that's happening in the discussion.